She clinked her glass and said, "This is Evelyn. She's basically family. Like the help." And just like that, 150 guests turned to stare at me, the woman in the thrifted black dress. But when her billionaire boss saw my face, he didn't just recognize me, he bowed. "Welcome to VowsBurn, where betrayal isn't just drama, it's justice. Real stories, raw emotion, and revenge that doesn't ask for permission." I've spent most of my life being underestimated, not because I'm weak, but because I learned early that power moves quietly. My name is Evelyn Ross. I'm 58 years old, widowed, mother to one son. And for the past 2 decades, I've made a career out of being invisible, strategically invisible. The kind of woman people overlook at galas, underestimate in meetings, and forget to thank when the deal closes, which is exactly how I like it. My husband, Thomas, passed away 12 years ago. He was an engineer, brilliant, steady. We built a quiet life together. No yachts, no country clubs, just books, jazz records, and a little garden out back. When he died, I didn't fall apart. I folded into myself, and I stayed there. My son, Daniel, is my pride. He's 32 now. Smart, driven. A software architect with a mind like his father's and a heart like mine. He works long hours, forgets to eat, and still calls me every Sunday. He's the kind of man who holds doors open and apologizes when he's 5 minutes late. The kind of man who deserves someone kind, someone thoughtful, someone who sees him. Which brings me to Celeste, the woman he's marrying. She's beautiful, polished, raised in a world of private jets and curated smiles. Her family owns a chain of luxury hotels. She speaks fluent French, drinks imported champagne, and once asked me if I'd ever considered downsizing for comfort. She said it with a smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. I met her twice before the engagement party. Once at brunch, where she complimented my humble charm. Once at dinner, she asked if I needed help managing my finances. Daniel didn't notice. He was too busy looking at her like she hung the moon. And I didn't say anything, because I've learned that some lessons have to be lived. When they announced the engagement, I smiled. I hugged her. I told her I was happy, and I meant it, because Daniel was happy. And that mattered more than my reservations. The party was scheduled for the Langford Hotel rooftop. Celeste's family spared no expense. Crystal chandeliers, imported orchids, a guest list that read like a Forbes gala. I received the invitation in a gold envelope, embossed, formal, and addressed to Mrs. Evelyn Ross, guest, not mother of the groom, just guest. I chose my outfit carefully, a black dress from a consignment shop, my mother's brooch, simple heels, nothing flashy, just enough to blend in. Because I've learned that the key to privacy is looking exactly like what people expect to see. A widow living comfortably but modestly on her late husband's pension and life insurance. The day of the party, I arrived early. Not to impress. Just to observe. The rooftop was stunning. Glass walls, city skyline, a string quartet playing something classical, servers in white gloves, guests in designer gowns, and me, in my thrifted black dress, sipping sparkling water and watching my son beam beside his fiancée. That's when Celeste approached, her parents in tow. Her boss was trailing behind. She raised her glass, smiled, and said the words that would change everything. "Everyone," she said, her voice sugar-sweet. "I want you to meet Daniel's mother." She gestured toward me. Her manicured hand barely grazes my shoulder. "This is Evelyn. She's basically family, like the help." The laughter was polite, nervous, but it was there, and I felt it, like a slap. I stood there clutching my glass, the bubbles suddenly bitter on my tongue. And just as I opened my mouth to respond, a voice cut through the crowd, low, firm, British accent. "Evelyn Ross?" I turned. Celeste's boss, the CEO of the global firm where she worked, was staring at me. His eyes were wide. His posture is shifting. He stepped forward and bowed. The Langford Hotel rooftop was everything I expected, and everything I'd quietly prepared myself to endure. Glass walls, a skyline view that made the city look like a jewelry box, a string quartet playing something classical, servers in white gloves, guests in gowns that cost more than my car, and me, in my thrifted black dress, sipping sparkling water and watching my son beam beside his fiancée. Celeste moved through the crowd like she owned it. She greeted guests with air kisses and curated compliments. She laughed just loud enough to be noticed. And every time she passed me, she smiled, the kind of smile that says I see you, but I don't need to acknowledge you. I found a quiet corner near the orchids. Watched Daniel talk to her father. Watched Celeste pose for photos. Watched the crowd orbit her like she was the sun. And I waited, because I knew something was coming. I just didn't know how sharp it would be. Then I saw her approaching. Celeste, her parents, her boss, and a small cluster of guests trailing behind. She raised her glass, tapped it gently, and smiled. "Everyone," she said, her voice sugar-sweet. "I want you to meet Daniel's mother." She gestured toward me. Her manicured hand barely grazes my shoulder. "This is Evelyn. She's basically family, like the help." The laughter was polite, nervous, but it was there, and I felt it, like a slap. I stood there, clutching my glass, the bubbles suddenly bitter on my tongue. The words echoed, like the help. Not Daniel's mother, not Evelyn, not even Mrs. Ross. Just the help. I looked at Daniel. He hadn't heard it. He was talking to someone across the room, smiling, unaware. Celeste's mother, Lorraine, gave me a tight smile. The kind reserved for people you tolerate out of obligation. Her father, Charles, nodded politely, then turned back to the champagne. And just as I opened my mouth to respond, a voice cut through the crowd. Low, firm, British accent. "Evelyn Ross?" I turned. Celeste's boss, the CEO of the global firm where she worked, was staring at me. His eyes were wide. His posture is shifting. He stepped forward and bowed. The crowd paused. The laughter stopped. Even the quartet seemed to falter. "Ms. Ross," he said, "I didn't expect to see you here." Celeste blinked. "Wait, you know her?" He smiled. "Know her? She's the strategist who saved our European division. She's the reason we're still solvent." The silence that followed was exquisite. Celeste's face drained of color. Her parents looked stunned. Daniel turned, finally noticing, and I stood there, not as the help, but as the woman who had just shifted the entire room, Evelyn Ross. The voice cut through the rooftop chatter like a blade through silk. Low, British, commanding. I turned. Celeste's boss, the CEO of the global firm where she worked, was staring at me. His expression had shifted. Gone was the polite detachment. In its place, recognition, respect, and something else. Awe. He stepped forward and bowed. Not a nod, not a handshake. A full, formal bow. The kind reserved for royalty, or legends. "Ms. Ross," he said, "I didn't expect to see you here." Celeste blinked. "Wait, you know her?" He smiled. "Know her? She's the strategist who saved our European division. She's the reason we're still solvent." The silence that followed was exquisite. Celeste's face drained of color. Her parents looked stunned. Daniel turned, finally noticing, and I stood there, aught as the help. But as the woman who had just shifted the entire room, I smiled gently. "I prefer to keep a low profile," Celeste stammered. "You never told me." I tilted my head. "You never asked." Her boss turned to the crowd. "Ms. Ross is one of the sharpest minds I've ever worked with. If she's family, you're lucky." The ripple effect was instant. Guests who had ignored me now leaned in. Whispers spread like wildfire. Phones appeared. Someone Googled my name. And there it was. Articles, interviews, boardroom photos. The woman in the thrifted black dress wasn't just someone's mother. She was someone. Daniel approached slowly. His eyes were dry. "Mom, what is going on?" I looked at him. My work isn't something I talk about often, but I've spent the last 20 years helping companies survive. Quietly. He swallowed. "You saved her company?" I nodded. 3 years ago. They were about to collapse. I stepped in, rebuilt their strategy, repositioned their assets, and walked away. Celeste's voice cracked. "You never said anything." I met her eyes. "You never asked. You assumed." Her mother, Lorraine, looked pale. Her father, Charles, cleared his throat. "Well, Evelyn, it seems we've misjudged you." I smiled. Most people do. The rest of the evening shifted. People approached me differently, with respect, with curiosity, with caution. Celeste stayed quiet. Her confidence cracked. Her smile is gone. Daniel pulled me aside. "Mom, why didn't you say anything before?" I looked at him. My worth isn't in what I wear or who I impress. It's in what I build quietly. He nodded and hugged me. I danced once with Daniel. He held my hand tighter than he had in years and whispered, "I'm proud of you." I smiled. I've always been proud of you. The rooftop didn't feel so warm anymore. The chandeliers still sparkled. The quartet still played. But the mood had shifted. And Celeste knew it. She stood frozen, her champagne glass trembling slightly in her hand. Her smile, the one she'd worn like armor all evening, had vanished. In its place was something raw. Confusion, embarrassment, fear, guests whispered. Not about the orchids, not about the imported champagne, but about me. The woman in the thrifted black dress, the strategist, the ghost who'd saved a global firm and walked away without a press release. Celeste's boss lingered near me. He asked about my current projects. I kept it vague. He offered a consulting retainer. I declined. Not because I couldn't use the money, but because I didn't need the validation. Celeste tried to recover. She laughed. Too loudly. She clung to Daniel's arm. She made a toast. But the crowd didn't respond the same way. The applause was thinner. The smile tightens. The admiration redirected. Her parents approached me. Lorraine, the mother, looked pale. Charles, the father, cleared his throat. "Well, Evelyn, it seems we've misjudged you." I smiled. Most people do. Daniel stayed close. He watched Celeste. He watched me. And I saw it, the shift in his eyes. The questions are forming. The pieces are rearranging. Later, he pulled me aside. "Mom, I didn't know." I nodded. "I never needed you to know. I just needed you to be happy." He looked down. "She's not who I thought she was." I didn't respond. Some truths don't need commentary. They just need space to land. Celeste approached me once more. Her voice is low, tight. "You made me look stupid." I met her eyes. "No, Celeste. You did that yourself. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." She blinked, and for a moment, I saw it. The realization that her world wasn't as secure as she thought. That power doesn't always wear diamonds. Sometimes it wears thrifted black and a quiet smile. The rest of the evening blurred. People asked for my card. Someone offered to write a profile. I declined. Because I wasn't there to be discovered. I was there to support my son. And to remind the world, gently, that silence isn't weakness. It's a strategy. The rooftop emptied slowly. The chandeliers dimmed. The quartet packed up their instruments. And Celeste stood alone near the bar, her posture stiff, her smile long gone. Daniel walked me to the elevator. He didn't speak at first. just held my arm gently, like he was afraid I might vanish. When the doors closed behind us, he turned. "Mom, I don't know what to say." I looked at him. "You don't have to say anything. You just have to see clearly." He nodded. I thought I knew her. I didn't respond. Some truths don't need commentary. They just need space to land. The next morning he called. I asked her about what she said, about calling you the help. I waited. She said it was a joke, that people like you don't take offense. I closed my eyes. She doesn't know people like me. 2 days later, Daniel came over. He brought coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and said, "I ended it." I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I just reached across the table and held his hand. Because sometimes, the most powerful verdict isn't shouted. It's whispered and lived. Celeste's family tried to salvage the engagement. They sent flowers, emails, even a handwritten note from her mother. But Daniel didn't respond. And I didn't either. 3 weeks later, I attended a charity gala. Not as a guest, as a keynote speaker. The same CEO who bowed to me had invited me to speak about quiet leadership. I wore the same black dress, same brooch, same heels. And this time, no one mistook me for the help. After the speech, a young woman approached me. She said, "You don't look like a strategist." I smiled. Exactly. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It waits. It listens. And when the moment comes, it speaks. Celeste called once, left a voicemail. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need closure. I already had it. Daniel met someone new, a woman named Maya. She teaches literature. She listens. She laughs with her whole face. And when she met me, she said, "Daniel talks about you like you're a legend." I smiled. I'm just a mother who knows how to read a room. And as I sat in my garden one evening, the wind rustling the leaves, I thought about that rooftop, about the insult, about the bow, about the shift. And I realized something. She called me the help. But her boss called me the reason his empire survived. And in the end, only one of those titles stuck. You've just watched a vow burn to ash. Subscribe for more sagas that cut deeper than fiction, only on VowsBurn.